Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today. You know, if you look out your window right now or just, I don't know, scroll through your phone for 5 minutes, our modern world can feel pretty chaotic, right? It's kind of this messy, noisy reality filled with confusion and half-truths. But today, we're doing something different. We're going to explore a belief system that literally cuts straight through all that noise with these incredibly precise, luminous strokes of truth. We're diving deep into Zoroastrianism. It's a tradition where light, personal responsibility, and the massive ripple effect of your actions sit right at the very center of the universe.
Let me ask you this. What if the absolute oldest battle between good and evil isn't being fought by distant gods hurling lightning bolts from the clouds, but by your daily choices, right here, right now? I really want to hook you with this idea right off the bat, because in this ancient faith, humans aren't just pawns on some cosmic chessboard. Actually, scratch that. You're not a pawn at all. You are a highly active, absolutely crucial participant. The world isn't just a neutral stage, it's a battleground, and your choices, they actually tip the scales.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to start with thoughts, words, and actions, then we'll move out to truth versus chaos, explore fire and purity, trace the religion's history and influence, and finally, we'll take a hard look at the modern reality. All right, let's jump right into section 1, thoughts, words, and actions.
So, we're kicking things off with 3 really foundational Avestan words, humata, hukta, and harvashta. And they translate to something wonderfully simple: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Now, here's the thing. Morality in Zoroastrianism doesn't just start with the visible stuff, the actions you take out in the world. It begins much, much earlier than that. It starts entirely with your internal alignment. It requires this rigorous, daily self-examination. In this tradition, thinking, speaking, and acting, they aren't separate little boxes of your life. They're intimately connected, and they form the absolute bedrock of your personal ethic.
And this internal alignment actually operates as a very tangible mechanism of responsibility. It works in a 3-step chain. First up, your thoughts shape your perceptions and motives. Like, if you're harboring anger or greed, well, that is exactly where the problem begins. Second, your words give those internal thoughts a real social impact. Words can completely build relationships up, or they can shatter them in seconds. And finally, your deeds physically stabilize or destroy trust in your community. Basically, you have to constantly choose to build good order. It's an incredibly empowering idea, isn't it? To act well, you've got to first police how you think and how you speak.
Moving right along to section 2, truth versus chaos.
Right at the very center of the Zoroastrian worldview is this incredibly stark contrast: Asha versus Druj. Asha represents truth, order, structure, and reliability. It's the supreme order established by Ahura Mazda, the highest divine figure. On the flip side, we have Druj, and Druj represents the lie, deception, distortion, and just downright chaotic disorder. Now, I really want to clarify something here. This is not just some basic comic book-style brawl between 2 equally matched gods. No, this is a fundamental framework for literally all of reality. Truth isn't just a correct sentence you say, it is a lifestyle. And the lie? It's not just a false statement. It's a highly destructive force that actually tears at the fabric of society.
And honestly, how incredibly relevant does that feel today? Just think about modern threats like disinformation, fake news, propaganda campaigns, conspiracy thinking, and that massive erosion of societal trust we're seeing everywhere. When we connect these ancient concepts to today's modern media landscape, we can see that the destructive force of the lie is an incredibly urgent modern issue. Under a Zoroastrian framework, every single time you share a deceptive article online or feed into some wild conspiracy, you are actively feeding Druj. You're literally contributing to cosmic chaos.
Now let's look at section 3, fire and purity.
Now, what's super interesting about this next part is how it completely debunks the absolute biggest historical cliches surrounding this faith. I mean, you've probably heard them called fire worshippers before, right? Well, that is simply false. Zoroastrians do not worship fire. Fire is a symbol. It's a ritual center that takes these big abstract concepts like purity, truth, and divine wisdom and makes them visible and tangible. It's really a focal point for the mind, not the deity itself.
So what exactly does the Atish Kata, or the House of Fire, actually symbolize? Well, think about it. Light provides orientation and knowledge when you're in the dark. Fire warms, it transforms, and it purifies everything it touches. But crucially, and this is a big one, a flame isn't self-sustaining, is it? It demands care, vigilance, and protection. Maintaining that flame takes active discipline, which is a lot like maintaining good thoughts, words, and deeds. It also represents this profound active commitment to environmental order. The elements like fire, water, and earth are considered pure, and they must be protected. It's kind of fascinating because it's like a direct precursor to our modern environmental ethics about how we treat the planet.
All right, on to Section 4, History and Influence.
Let's zoom out a bit and trace how this influence builds across the centuries. We're starting way back in antiquity with the prophet Zarathustra's roots. Now, I want to be totally upfront and build some trust with you guys here. Scholars are genuinely uncertain about the exact early dates. And you know what? That's okay. From those mysterious early roots, the religion grows to absolute dominance in the centuries BCE, becoming the spiritual backbone of these massive Persian empires. But as we know, history is always dynamic. Fast forward to the 7th century CE, and the Islamic expansion fundamentally changes the demographics of the region. This leads to a massive shift between the 8th and 10th centuries CE, where many Zoroastrians migrate over to India, eventually becoming the community we know today as the Parsis.
And of course, as this empire expanded and interacted with other cultures, ideas were shared. It's truly fascinating when you lay it out. We see the Zoroastrian concept of frashokardi, which is this cosmic restoration, and it heavily mirrors ideas of a final judgment or the end of the world. Then you've got the moral examination of the soul, which closely parallels concepts of heaven, hell, and resurrection. Even the whole battle of Asha versus Druj, it looks a whole lot like angels, demons, and the ultimate defeat of evil. Now, we're being very careful here to avoid claims of direct copy and paste between religions. That's just not really how history works. Instead, it's much more about shared historical contact zones. As different empires interacted, these incredibly profound Zoroastrian ideas likely influenced the development of other major faiths like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Which brings us to our final chapter, Section 5, The Modern Reality. The reality of this community today is pretty much captured by a single crucial number, 57,264. According to the 2011 Indian census, that is the exact population of Parsis in India. It's a really striking figure, isn't it? It clearly demonstrates their sheer demographic vulnerability today. Think about it. A religion that once spanned massive global empires is now navigating the intense realities of being a micro-minority.
To really put the scale of that drop into perspective for you, back in 1941, the Parsi population in India was roughly 114,000. By 2011, it had basically halved down to 57,264. This dramatic, totally measurable decline has actually spurred some major demographic initiatives. For example, there's the Geo-Parsi program launched by the Indian government, which is specifically designed to support the community and try to halt this drastic population drop.
So why exactly is this happening? Well, the community is facing a pretty tangled web of modern demographic challenges. We're talking low birth rates, aging populations, and widespread migration that's creating a very fragmented diaspora all over the globe. And crucially, there are some very strict rules regarding belonging and conversion. Now, this creates a profound internal tension. On one side, you have this strong desire for traditional preservation, keeping those boundaries strict to maintain the purity of an ancient tradition. But on the other side, there's a real push for progressive opening, allowing things like interfaith marriages and conversions just to ensure the faith survives. Now, for the sake of this explainer, we absolutely aren't taking sides here. We're just neutrally observing that navigating these internal tensions is incredibly difficult, especially when the stakes are quite literally the survival of the community itself.
As we consider those numbers, I really want you to walk away with this specific perspective. The quote goes, "Size is relevant, but not solely decisive. Historical impact, conceptual originality, cultural radiance, and ethical learning opportunities are equally important." I just love that. Please remember this. A religion's value is absolutely not measured solely by its current membership statistics. Zoroastrianism's true weight is found in its enduring historical legacy, its profound influence on global theology, and the incredibly sharp ethical tools it provides us to navigate our own messy lives today.
So I'll leave you with this final provocative question to chew on. How exactly does a small religion with a massive, globe-spanning history navigate that huge tension between preserving ancient truth and embracing a modern globalized world? It's a huge question, and honestly, it's not just for Zoroastrians. It's for any community trying to hold on to its identity in a world that is just rapidly changing. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope you found the resilience of this faith as fascinating as I do, and that you're walking away eager to learn more about the profound forces that have shaped our world. Keep seeking the truth, and I will see you next time.